Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Princess Lily baby, and if you're new here, I make faith-based content here on YouTube. We're all about faith, lifestyle, and beauty. Thank you for tuning in today's video. This is a very sensitive topic to me and honestly speaking, I just want to do this and talk about this to shed more awareness on women's health, because this is a topic that has become close to my heart, and I just want to spread awareness through my journey, and maybe I can help a woman out there. You just never know. So let's just get right onto it. So obviously by the title, you have seen already we're going to be talking about my fertility journey. So my fertility journey started, I can say, really for a woman, your fertility journey I think starts the minute you hit puberty, because that sort of determines your outlook in terms of your fertility. And I hit puberty, I think, at around 12 years old, and I had my first period, I remember, at 12 years old. And then I had that one period that time in December, and it was gone. It was gone for 3 full years. I didn't have my period until 3 years later, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, actually that makes sense. So to me, it was normal, because that's sort of the story or the narrative that I had heard around, so I'm 12 and then I'm going to get my period again when I'm 15, which means that all of high school, I didn't experience a period or having a period, and not all of high school, I mean junior high school, right? I went to school really late, guys. So you guys should know, I really went to school really late. It wasn't exactly all of high school, because it did come when I was 15 and I was still in junior high school. So it came, and to me that was normal. I remember when my niece first had her period, and I was like, girl, don't worry about it, like it's just gonna come this month and you're gonna have like a full 3 years or so at least. To her surprise, her period kept on coming, and it's been consistent ever since. So my bad on that. I don't know, I think it should have alarmed my mom that my period never came. But then again, there started being rumors about me in my high school, about me being pregnant, whatnot. That was not true. And to even think of the fact that I was celibate and a virgin, it's just appalling to think about. So I get through that, and then I have my period. I remember when it came back, I was doing Form 4 to be precise. I even missed a test. That's how terrible my period pains were. They were so terrible. I'm telling you, those were period pains sent from hell. And that was just my life from then on. When it came back in Form 4, I would be having the worst period pains. To this day, they were so crippling. So that happened, and then fast forward, I would just get that irregular period, and I just knew that I'm that girl who gets her period and then it can disappear for months. I'm not sexually active, so I'm not really worried, at the times. That was what I was thinking. I get married and it's 2020. I get married in June, and that was the last time I see my period. I started taking pregnancy tests each and every month, and I'm wondering what's going on. And then in my head and with my husband, we're like, it's probably because you haven't been sexually active and now you're sexually active, so that is probably the cause. Okay, following year, it's 2021, beginning of 2021. Still still no period since June. And now I'm like, no, this honestly can't be normal. Let's get it checked out. We really didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know if I had to go to a general doctor. How do I get to the gynae? So I just started I didn't want to have full-on conversations with my family members, sisters, cousins about this, because my family generally, not just speaking on my nuclear, but with cousins and relatives and everybody, there's just a struggle when it comes to fibroids. So I didn't want to get my headspace in there. So I was really avoiding having the conversation with my family members. So I'll just sort of pick their brains about it. I remember asking a cousin of mine, I don't know if I should say people's names. So I was asking this particular cousin of mine, she had had a kid, and I was like, who was your gynae? Like, I was just really being passive about it, and she wasn't really giving me any information, to be quite honest. So it was hard having that conversation, trying to have the conversation with my sister. So and then my husband also was asking his sister, I think, who had been on a journey of trying to conceive. So he would be like, so eventually we decided to settle with my sister-in-law's gynae, because my husband had really been present in her journey of trying to conceive and all that. So he sort of had an idea of, okay, you can walk into the gynae's office, and he was comfortable having the conversation with her. So then we went with her gynae, Dr. Museta. I still think he's a very good gynae. He's one of the best, according to me. And the fact that he is a Christian was a plus for me. I love that for myself. Walk into Museta's office. This is February of 2021. Just this girl. I went alone because, according to me, this was nothing. This was a period. I just thought he would be on some get on a good diet and I'll be on my way. No, we did home. Okay, I got there and then he did a scan. Obviously, the first thing that he did was a scan. Scan shows no fibroids. Why don't you have a period? Then the next thing he was like, I'm going to take your bloods to determine your hormone levels, your hormones, if you have maybe hormonal imbalance. Okay, so he has a lab within his thing. I went to take my bloods and wait for the results the following week. He's like, I can't put you in anything until I see your hormone profile. Okay, they call me up following week, get my hormone results, and alas, I am perfectly fine, no hormonal imbalance, like everything is okay. Then he's like, the next step is to get your period back and get your period to be on track. So he gave me these pills. I had written them down. I would show a picture of the pills, medication. I'll write down the names. I think what are they called? I forgot the names. Those pills you take one for 5 days, your period is back. And then he put me on prevention pills. He said these prevention pills will help to regulate my period. To be quite honest, this didn't sit well with me, because I'm like, prevention pills to get he was like, I'm trying to fix your cycle. And I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work, because it's an irregular period. It does this. I don't think a set of prevention pills is really going to help fix the situation. But okay, we did it anyway. At the time, I was doing acne treatment. I wasn't on Accutane. I was very specific, or Raricutane. any of that. I was on an antibiotic. I forgot the name of the antibiotic. So anyway, I had to be on prevention pills. So I was like, that's fine. I'll do these, so that also for my acne treatment. And plus the dermatologist, I had also been to see a dermatologist, was like, the prevention pills that he's given you are also good for skin. So I'm like, okay. So I take the prevention pills February. I take that pill first. That brings back the period. Period is back. So February, March, April, May, I am on the prevention pills. And this was honestly not the bestest of decisions. And then no, wait. I think I took them February, March, April, right? Because after that, in May, he started giving me Clomid. May, June, I was on Clomid, which was for now. This is where the ball drops. He puts me on Clomid for stimulating follicles to produce eggs in order for me to conceive. So I had to go and pick my husband up before continuing, but I really wanted to wrap up this video because this baby is about to come anytime now. So mind you, one thing that I forgot to mention was that my husband and I were not actually trying to conceive. We had put off the baby journey, the baby talk, for like, we had really put it off. We thought, because we had just gotten married. I mean, it wasn't even a year into our marriage. Maybe we thought 2 years or 3 years into our marriage, that's when we will start talking about babies. But then with this whole thing that is happening, and after he put the pill, I managed to go over my records. The pill is called Provera. That is the one that I was put on for 5 days to bring back my period. And then after that, I was put on Nordette. This is the prevention pill that is meant to help bring my period on track. So I think I had the prevention pill. It was 30 days each, February, March. Yeah, I had that. And then Clomid came in February, March, April, May, June. So we were not using protection. I must put this out there. I don't know why we were not using protection. It just happened. So now we are like, okay, so we are trying to conceive. What's going on? Like, we were also not sure as to, okay, is this the route that we want to take? Do we want to take this direction? It was so confusing. I don't even want to lie. Because we were not prepared for this, and the doctor didn't really have a diagnosis as to why I had that irregular menstrual cycle. My hormones were fine. I had no fibroids according to the doctor, so everything was fine. Then in June, bam, no period again. Period is gone, and then the doctor was like, okay, now this is a cause for concern. This is when he booked me for a fluoroscopy. Yeah, I hope I'm saying that correctly. And guys, please bear with me, as according to dates, it's not very precise in my mind. I'm retelling my story as I remember it, okay? So it's not going to be very exact, okay, in terms of dates, and I'm not a doctor, so some of these names are going to be tricky. Some of the reasons why he was giving me some of these medications is also going to be a bit confusing to me as well, because I really wasn't documenting at the time. Because like I said, I just went in there For me, it was like one of those things that you're just going in and you're just hoping you'd walk in and walk out with a diagnosis and have like a cure just like that, right? So this is an imaging technique that uses x-rays to obtain real-time moving images of the interior of an object. This is a fluoroscopy. So this is an x-ray. So the particular thing that I was doing was an HSG scan, hysterosalpingogram. Okay, so I was doing the HSG scan. This is where they take the x-ray dye and they put it down in your, to be able to see your uterus as well as your fallopian tubes. What, right? So the requirements: you should not be pregnant, you should not be on your period. So I did this on the 6th of July. I remember going in there and booking the appointment, and when the doctor suggested it, he was like, it's quite expensive and medical aid only covers 50%, so you guys are going to have to cover the rest of the 50%. Called my husband and he was like, book it. Went over there and indeed we booked it. This is another thing that I would like to really raise awareness on. I know how Nadinto does this, like she advocates for, you know, women's health and raising awareness as to the medical aid, and you know, some of these services we have to pay 50%, and it's honestly ridiculous because they charge a very pricey fee. We paid something like, I'll just round it off to 2,000. That was our 50% that we had to pay. So we booked it. Now looking back at it, I'm like, Lord, you were really faithful to us, because honestly, we were just a one salary household income. And looking back at our salary back then, it can only be God. So I went in there and I remember booking, and the lady at the reception told me to buy a pad and make sure that before I go in there, I have very strong painkillers. And I was like, my pain tolerance is high, so it's fine. Went to the shops and I got some pads. I got a painkiller, had that painkiller, and she said, have some lunch. I didn't really have time for lunch. So it was really like, okay, whatever. Anyway, at the time I was on government internship. So like getting time off of work wasn't something that was very, very given at the time. That's another thing. Government internships are just a rip-off. First of all, you don't get like time off, but you're still expected to show up. You're not getting paid. It's crazy. I go in there for my x-ray and I'm changing. I'm excited. I'll show you guys the video. That's just me. That's the girl. Like, yay, I'm doing this. Next thing you know, I'm on that table and they start, and they were like, pull up your legs and hold them by the ankles, hold firm. And he's like, oh yeah, he was like, pull up your legs and put your hands over there. Whatever happens, do not remove your hands. And I'm lying down there. When I tell you, I've never in my entire life experienced something so painful like that procedure. It just took the life. It took everything. I remember at one point I was screaming so helplessly, calling out to God. And then, obviously they're looking at the thing in the computer or whatever, and I can hear them saying, this is very unusual, and they're going over my doctor's notes, and they're like, okay, he's saying that she's not on her period, she's definitely not pregnant, what is going on? There was so much blood coming out, and they're like, the some of it was clots even, coming back. And then I went to get the report a week later. It turns out my right fallopian tube was blocked. So hence the lot of blood as they were, putting the dye through. I guess the blood that had been blocking it was now being released, and maybe there was, some sort of blood. I don't know what goes on. They didn't really explain, my doctor didn't really explain it to me, but that was the diagnosis as to what happened. And yeah, that was July, and we stayed, and my doctor gave me a month. In August, we were back with the prevention pills, Nordet, and I took the prevention pills and I finished them up. It's my last pill. Today is the 20th of August, and I'm taking my last pill, and we're on a journey. Yeah, I'm starting my new dosage tomorrow. It's been crazy. First of all, my boobs are so huge. And then I was back to Clomid for the rest of September, October, November, December, January, February. He was obviously giving me some supplements and some pills, mostly supplements like vitamins and stuff like that. In February of 2022, get back to my doctor's office. This is still Dr. Museta. He sits me down and he's like, ma'am, it's been a year. We've been on this journey. We've tried everything. I've tried everything that I saw possible, but you're still not pregnant. And still at the back of my mind, I'm like, I wasn't trying to get pregnant, but okay. And he's like, you know what, let's pray about it, and I'd like to refer you to a fertility specialist, because now if it goes on to 2 years, we're going to have to diagnose you as infertile. This broke my heart, but the fact that he was encouraging me to be in prayer was also very positive. It was hopeful. Now this was serious. I go back and I tell my husband, and we're both like, okay, no, I think we need to take this thing seriously, because it's getting serious. So he's like, the fertility specialist is quite pricey. He calls them up, inquires of their fees, and alas, we have to pay for 50%. Goodness. So we're like, book it, get the appointment. I remember this day very clearly. I booked the appointment for 4. They closed at 5. My husband was running late, and I was obviously mad at him. We get there, and then I call them. They were the nicest people. This is at Dr. Molelakwa's office. He's the only fertility specialist in Botswana. We get to Dr. Molelakwa's office, and they are so nice. I'm telling them, I call them up at 10 to 5, and I'm like, we're running late, you guys, I know you close at 5. And they're like, no, it's okay, you can come through, absolutely no problem. We get there at 5, and he does an internal scan. The scan that I was doing all this time at Museta's office was just the one that they rub the thing on your stomach, Now this time he had like a long tubey thing that he inserts into your vajayjay. This was very invasive. It was uncomfortable. It was humiliating, to say the least. I didn't even expect that. You can even imagine, like, you've spent your whole day out and then bam, it's like hygiene, invasion of your privacy. Goodness, I just felt all the feelings just then. Thank goodness my husband was there with me, because I don't know how I would have survived. So get onto the table, he inserts the thing, and he calls my husband, who was recording. So this whole time my husband was recording, and then I don't even know if I should post those recordings. So at this point we were like, let's record this journey because it's getting now serious. This is like fertility issues, you know. So inserts the thingy, and he's showing him on the screen, talking to him as if I'm not there. This honestly offended me, because I was like, I'm right there. I'm not a kid like at the pediatrician's office and you're talking to my mom. No. But anyway, he's done with the exam, sits us down and tells us that she has polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS. I had never heard of PCOS before in my life. And coincidentally, Dr. Gure posted about this like a week later. And I was driving in town with my friend Zaone, and then she's like reading out the symptoms of PCOS, and she's like, Jesus, these describe me. And in my heart, I'm like, girl, can you calm down? Because I'm like, if only she knew that this is what I'm going through. Like, it was totally heartbreaking for me, and she was just talking about it. And so anyway, back to Mulelekwe's office. Yeah, and he's like, what he was showing us on the screen was the cysts that were formulated. I don't really know how to explain PCOS, and I don't even want to attempt to, but this is why I haven't been getting, or I've been getting, an irregular menstrual cycle. And this, I was so shattered, you know. We left the office at around 6:30. He had a mini counseling session there. He was telling me that I'm still young, I still have a fighting chance, and he's willing to help me conceive. And the drive home was long. We sat in the car for quite a bit. For 30 minutes we were quiet, and then we drove home. I remember getting home and I went straight to bed, and I just tucked myself in bed and I started bawling. My husband comes in, he asks me, aren't you hungry? Like, let's go make something to eat. I'm like, I just want my mother. I don't know, I was so heartbroken, and I still didn't know what PCOS was, but this sounded serious now. We were just in blankets, and then we fell asleep, and obviously the next day the show has to go on. So anyway, back to the doctor's office. Mind you, I had now gone back to no period again. So he puts me on Provera, and he puts me on a higher dosage of Clomid, and he gave me something else that cleared up those cysts that were in me. So, and then he booked for day 12 scan. Remember that we are paying 50%, excuse me. This was very pricey, because now we were seeing him twice a month. You know, day 12 scan, I would go and see him, and then I would go, and then I would come again after, or at the beginning of or something. I don't know, after day 12 scan, he gives me the higher dosage of Clomid, and it was just that cycle that would go on. So here it was a bit of a trial and error. I call it a trial and error because of we saw him from February of 2022 until September of 2022, every 2 weeks, right? I was on Clomid first, then he put me on Fertility. Then these two are meant to be stimulating your follicles for you to be releasing the eggs so that you can be fertile. And each and every time, day 12 scan, he'll be checking if indeed the eggs were released. And I was releasing quite a large number of eggs, which was good. I hear averagely a woman releases between 15 and 26. I'm not quite sure, but I was releasing quite a lot, 12, 15. And then lastly, he put me on letrozole. I saw these pills in my mother's medication the other day. These are cancer medication pills. And I remember he did say that. And mind you, these pills had strong side effects. Letrozole was eating my uterus lining, so he put me off that. I don't remember why he had a problem with Fertility and Clomid, but then the one that seemed to be consistently working with, I think Clomid, the follicle, he was not happy with the follicles being released. Like, it was lower than Fertility, it was higher. He also did put me first on the Provera to bring back the period, and then Nodet. He also said he wants to regulate the period. And this time I tried to argue it out, like, this thing doesn't work, and he just gave me the Nodet. Anyway, after that, then I got into that. I should mention that he also did his round of tests. He did the hormone test. Hormones were fine. And then one thing that really scared me was one of the tests came back, and he diagnosed me of having type 2 diabetes. This was also one of the scariest points in my life. Type 2 diabetes. And he's like, if I was another doctor, I would immediately put you on pills, on sugar diabetes medication, and you would be on those for a lifetime. But I don't want to do that. You are young. Get on a strict diet. Go see a dietitian. And that is exactly what I did. That is when this was January, February, March, April of 2022. I'll never forget that time, where we had a major lifestyle change in our household. My husband and I, the food we started introducing in our household, we completely changed. I was off of sugar, and now I had to be testing for sugar regularly, and which is something that I still do to make sure that my sugar levels are controlled, which is very good, So I'm like, do I have type 2 diabetes? Like, what's going on? Or maybe it was due to the time. I don't know. It's really confusing, but I think I'll get deeper into that after my pregnancy. And then, so we did that. I should also talk about the side effects of these pills. I started losing my eyesight. I remember this one day, I woke up to go to the bathroom, and you wake up and I don't switch on the light. My husband, every time he wakes up, maybe to go to the bathroom, he switches on the lights. I'm like, you are waking yourself up. So I don't switch on the lights. I know the way to the bathroom. So as I'm in the bathroom, I remember I tried to open my eyes and get up. But then I opened my eyes I try to take a few steps, I fall down. I can't see what is going on. I am so scared. I'm seated there and I start crying. My husband comes in, what's going on? I can't see. And he's like, it's dark. I'm like, I can't see. And he's like, oh my goodness, there's something covered around your eyes. And then he tries to scrape it off. I still can't see. We go to the doctor immediately the following day, to the ophthalmologist, and yeah, I get treated for that. I'm on some medication. I go back to him and to my fertility doctor, and he's like, yeah, that's one of the side effects. Another side effect that had so it affected I already had poor eyesight, but now it really affected it pretty badly. Now I'm really dependent on my glasses. Another side effect was he put me on Viagra. What was the Viagra for? I think it was to fix the uterus lining after the letrozole. I forgot. My goodness, that pill had the worst. I remember 2 a.m. I wake my husband up and I told him, dude, something crazy is going on. I had the worst headache. The worst. I was vomiting non-stop. 7 a.m. he rushes me. It was a Saturday. We go to the general practitioner, and he's like, yeah, they do some exams. He puts me on something. I don't know if it's a scan or what. I don't know. He's like, this is definitely a migraine. He injects me and gives me some migraine medication. Vomiting doesn't stop. And then he's like, okay, this maybe will help. I go home and I sleep. Still nothing. Back there lunchtime, puts me on more medication, injection. Nothing is working. I'm back there again that night at 8. And he really didn't know what to do. Puts me on more medication. Monday, I was the first person at that doctor's office. Okay, back to the fertility specialist, and he's like, yeah, that's one of the side effects. Goodness. So he gives me some medication. He knew how to treat it, and now he's like, you're a lifetime migraine patient. And just like that, my journey with migraines began. It's terrible. Having a migraine is terrible. I used to have headaches and I used to call them migraines. Nothing compares to a migraine. That thing is painful. So fast forward, as the time progresses, he does now test on my husband. Nothing is happening, mind you. We're still not getting pregnant. Nothing is happening. He decides to test my husband, and this was in August. We went to him in February. In August, he decides to test my husband. My husband, everything is fine. They did I wrote these down. Oh yeah, we do an HIV test. I also did that. Sugar, sperm culture, cholesterol, testosterone, all those tests that they do on men. The most embarrassing one was he had to examine his genitalia. I really felt bad for my poor hubby. Oh, you poor guy. But yeah, everything was fine. He was okay. The only shortness or deficiency was vitamin, the one for the sun. Yeah, he had to get some supplements for that. Then he decided to put us on medication, both of us. And now we're talking, what is it called? The name just left me. Artificial insemination, whereby he was gonna take my husband's sperm and insert it in me. IVF. First he said he was gonna do it first before going to do IVF. So he was gonna try 3 cycles of that. If nothing gives, then we do IVF. I had already started the medication that was preparing my body for this procedure. My husband, also started the medication treatment to prepare his body for this treatment. This was in 2022. I must mention a few factors. Through this entire year of 2022, one, I speak to a friend of mine who has also been through this journey, and she was like, you know what, Lily, you need to hand it over to God at the end of the day. She's like, we had to go through the same procedures, and it came to a point where I was like, no, I'm done, and she's like, plus I feel like these doctors give a blanket diagnosis to all the ladies, so no. Then I was at my cousin's birthday party, and I sat next to this lady. My cousin is a doctor. One of her friends is a doctor, and she just started, she had just given birth basically to a baby. So she was just everywhere, congratulations. Then she starts now having a side conversation. It was a long table, and she's talking about her journey, her fertility journey, and it was quite similar to mine. And then she says something, and she's like, these doctors give a blanket diagnosis to all these conditions, and I just don't trust men with my body. Like, sometimes you just have to let it go. And she's like, my final last straw was when the doctor wanted to do another HSG scan on me, and I already had one blocked tube, and imagine if they ruptured the tubes, there goes my chance at trying to conceive. I remember the doctor had also suggested that I do another test, and I had quite blankly said no. I just said no, I didn't know, but then that confirmed it. You know what, you did good by saying no to doing another test, because you already have one blocked tube. What are the chances of, what if it wasn't unblocked? Because my previous doctor had said it could be unblocked, there's a possibility, but what if it didn't get unblocked? So I'm like, no, what if the second one ruptures or something? Because that scan, those are some of the side effects, like of them putting dye through your fallopian tubes. So, and then she also said she just decided to stop. That was the final confirmation. September of 2022, I was feeling sick from one of the side effects of the medication that we were taking that was preparing us for the artificial insemination. And I told my husband, babe, I'm tired. I'm really tired of these procedures. I'm tired of the side effects. Can we just stop? Plus, the medication was pricey. It was 3,000 pula per cycle. Just the medication alone, not talking about the doctor's fees. He was bringing it to, I think, maybe 6 to 8K, I'm not quite sure. But that particular medication that we were taking was 3K. So you can just imagine, 3K. So we just did one cycle of that, and I was like, nah, I'm done. So I called it quits, and that was it. I went into 2023, and I was like, this is my year of being fertility treatments free. I don't want to hear any of that. I don't want to hear about trying to conceive. I don't even want to hear about baby making. Okay? I remember having a conversation with my girl Laune, and she was like, my friend, don't start acting crazy on us. You are now having these ovulation sticks. After every time you guys make love, you are sitting on the bed and all that. So that really stuck with me, and my mindset throughout this whole entire journey was like, God, you are in control. I surrender to you. I remember talking to Ludo, and she was just like, this is insane. Friend, your hope is in the Lord. So that was it. I think after also that conversation with Ludo, I was like, I'm done. Because Ludo was like, friend, this is insane. All these medications, I don't know, like, just trust in God. So I was done. Let it all go. And 2023, I was just living life. No, none of that. And then in August of 2023, I started now actively praying again. I just started praying. I don't know, I felt this strong urge to be praying, to be in constant prayer. I used to pray before, but it was in desperation. I remember I would be praying and crying, Lord, why me? This time, my whole prayer dynamic had changed. And Alice, we conceived in August of 2023. Isn't God faithful? Exactly a year after I had stopped this medication. And I was like, God, you are so faithful. You know, I'm so glad that I listened to you. I'm really, really happy, and I'm so glad, you know. So yeah, this is my fertility journey. This is my journey to conceiving my little bambino. I'm so happy. I'm grateful to all the medical staff that, you know, went into this, Dr. Museta, Dr. Mulelekwa. But above all else, all glory goes to God. This baby, Launa calls my baby miracle. This is my baby miracle. This is my baby from God. I was telling my husband that if there's anything that has lifted my faith and shown me that there is God in heaven, it is this baby. So unexpected, so out of the blue, so random. This is God. He got us, and He says in His word, at the right time, I will make it happen. The scripture that I used to hold on to, I just forgot. But anyway, I forgot where it is, but it says, I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor their sons begging for bread. He has never forsaken us. He is with us. He says, I make rivers in the wilderness. This is who God is, child of God. And I want to urge you to trust in God. Even as you go through these procedures, which I encourage you to go through, because I'm always like, get your stuff checked out. It puts your mind at ease. Trust in God. Pray for your medical practitioners. Pray for wisdom as you go through these things, because some of these things, I was also able to make sound decisions because I was constantly in prayer, and my husband, the biggest support system. I remember one time he was telling me, babe, even if we don't have kids, I am content. God is so faithful. Thank you guys for watching my journey. On the next video, I'm going to give you an update of my pregnancy journey so far, and I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this really brings awareness and it does help somebody.